Okay, guys, it's storming pretty good outside right now, so we're not getting a ton of work done on our light deck project in our backyard, but you can at least see it in the background there. So I thought today what I would do, I've got a bunch of videos kind of in about half done, but it's been so hot and we've got so many pools going that I didn't really have a finished video. So I thought it would be a good time. It's been a couple months since my last video about specifically lumber prices and ICF versus lumber in price. So this will be my third one. I said I would revisit it every month or so. It's been about two. And thus far, I would say it's sort of a good news, bad news situation. Starting with lumber, you probably hear on the news and everything that the lumber futures are falling, and they're falling dramatically, and that's a good thing. But what does that correlate to if you're going to go buy a 2x4 at the lumber yard? So I'm going to give that to you guys right now. But first I'll talk about the futures. And as you remember from like the first video I ever did on this subject, I told back in about January of 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, lumber futures were, and lumber futures are based on 1,000 random board feet of dimensional lumber. And they were about $350 for 1,000 board feet. And that's it had been pretty steady, and lumber prices were pretty good, I think most people thought. And by May of 2021, the first week of May, they had hit 1,700. So they were up like almost 5 times. It was terrible. And that's when lumber and everything had really, we thought, peaked, but it kept going up at the store for another couple months. When I did my second video in late May of 2021, we were sitting at 1,400. It had dipped as low as 1,200, but the futures were still at 1,400, and those were July futures at the end of May. So today we are at $621.20, and that's September futures. So they are down by over half from 2 months ago. They're still almost double what they were a year and a half ago. So good news, bad news. The really bad news is it really hasn't correlated to a ton of savings yet at the store level. Now, sheet goods are the biggest part of the problem still, and that's more based on a resin shortage, theoretically, mythically, whatever you want to say. The OSB and stuff is still insanely high. And while that's high, it's going to keep your overall lumber package up a lot on stick frame houses. But it's still light at the end of the tunnel. That resin shortage is based a lot, I think, on the Texas freeze and wrecking a couple resin plants that are taking a while to get back online. And even once they're back online, it's going to take a while to catch up. But the big problem is the futures. They're futures. So these prices here, 621, is what they can buy for and take delivery in September, not today. So what they're doing now is buying stuff that, from their July futures were still well over 1,000, 1,200, 1,300. And they've bought all that lumber, and that's what's sitting on their shelves. So they don't want to take a loss on it. It's just like gas prices. Somebody, farts on a oil tanker and the futures go up 20%. Or the wind blows too hard in the Gulf of Mexico. I don't know. The futures go up, and the price of the pump's up before you get out of bed that morning. 20% or whatever. And then it goes down 1% at a time as they have to, because they buy it high and they don't want to sell it low. They don't mind selling it high when they bought it low, but it's just human nature. They don't want to lose money. So the big boxes are going to hold on to those prices as long as they can until some of the smaller lumber yards that weren't heavily stocked because they were buying only what they needed start beating them. And they are. Right now, normally, you're going to pay a little bit more of a premium at a local lumber yard, but they're going to deliver for free. All their people are going to be competent and know what they're talking about, which is not really the case at the big box stores, but you sacrifice service for a great price. And right now you can actually beat their prices a little bit at a lumber yard because they've bought it more recently for a lower price. That's not across the board. I'm just telling you, locally I see that some. So these are all temporary conditions, but they're current conditions. So I'll get into exactly what that means based on, if you guys remember my little, my first video, I had like a 4x8 wall with zip board, and I had a 4x8 wall of real ICF, and I just compared the price of 4 foot by 8 foot. And if you go back to that first video, the price of lumber, the prices of the sheets of zipboard was $55 a sheet. And I'll kind of put this back up here to remind everybody. That was for 7/16 zip. That was for, the green zip, which is 7/16. The orange is either 1/2 inch or 5/8. But the green zip was $55 a sheet. 2x6x8, which you'd have 5 of them for a 4-foot wall if you put it made top and bottom plate out of the same thing. Just very rudimentary figures was $12.33 per, and the tape was $32 for a roll of tape. And my normal multiplier on zip tape is you're going to need about 6 rolls or 6 sheets per roll. You can get about 8 sheets taped, but then you got to go back and tape windows and door openings and stuff. So it'll end up being about, if you had, 300 sheets, you're going to need, 50 sheets of zip tape. And that's just kind of a good rule of thumb. So to figure all that out, and the insulation at the time was about $1.65 a square foot, came to $187 for that 4x8 wall section, which was insane to me because that was probably $100 6 months prior. But it's insane. It is what it is, but that's where we were. So then the futures of lumber fell down to around $1,400, and I revisited the video the last week of May. And I was hoping, the futures had come down about 300 points. We were going to be in better shape. And this stuff had even gone up more. It was ridiculous. If you remember, I couldn't hardly even say it. I was so shocked. It was at $71 a sheet, which, guys, I've been buying this stuff for years for under 20. 17 bucks a sheet a year and a half ago, I think, is what I paid for a whole bunch of it on the big house. Even in the mid-20s was acceptable. This is just, I haven't bought any OSB. We're doing everything with concrete at the moment. We're doing light deck roofs right now because it's cheaper on flat roofs on modern homes. 2x6s were up to $15 a piece, which is gross. And the tape was crazily enough up to $42 a roll. And I left the insulation alone because I hadn't actually talked to my insulation guy, and he hadn't thrown any shots across my bow or any warnings to tell me that I needed to worry. But I probably should have called him because the resin shortage has really kicked their butts in the spray foam. A lot of guys are having trouble getting product, the resins, and the guys that are paying a lot more for it. So the price is up on that. But at that point, we were at $211 for that 4x8 sheet. And we'll get into the ICF, but it had been like $195 in the first video, so it was just a tad more. And it had gone, I raised the price like 10% because I thought that's what was coming down the pipe on Fox Blocks. So I raised it preemptively because nothing had changed when I did that video, but I knew it was coming and I wanted to be fair to lumber with knowing that ICF was going up. So it was sitting right at $200. So all of a sudden, ICF was literally cheaper, product to product. Again, you're gonna remember. You guys are gonna remember. You guys hammered me for leaving out rebar on the ICF, and I'm gonna revisit why I did that. Because rebar is almost the same whether you're in California in a seismic zone, down in Dolphin Island, Alabama, where we built these beach houses, and I'll link them so you can kind of see what I'm talking about when I reference the price of strapping. It's always about the same on rebar. Seismic zone will have a few extra big pieces of rebar for lintels and stuff. In a wind zone, if you're really trying to get to that 250 mile an hour wind rating, you're gonna have more verticals. It's gonna be about 2,000 bucks on a 2,000 square foot house for rebar. Strapping for that same house, if you do it all stick frame, depending on your municipality, is going to go anywhere from, in Springfield, Missouri, which we have fairly reasonable codes on, wind and everything, probably $1,000 for Simpson strapping. You're talking hurricane ties, clip, the vertical straps, like your LST straps that go, connect your studs to your floor. All that stuff that's required by code, maybe $1,000 in Springfield, Missouri. Those houses in Dolphin Island, now they're bigger, they're about 4,000 feet, but 5 years ago, the strapping was $6,000 per house. It's about $7,500 now. So, point is, I'm trying to keep this as apples to apples as I can. And depending on where you're watching this video, Strapping and nails can be significantly more than the rebar or somewhat less than rebar. So I'm leaving all that out. I'm also not factoring in nails and strapping to my wall. So just understand that the video would be an hour long, guys, if I tried to get into every nut and bolt. I'm trying to give you guys broad strokes to where if you see the point of what I'm saying, you will look into it in your own market, because what I'm saying is fairly close to reality in most markets. So anyway, today I went back over to Home Depot to check everything. Zip board, again, it's a wafer product. It's got a lot of resin in it, and they're not moving. 68 bucks a sheet, guys. That's insane. It's stupid. I love zip. I will not be buying it for $68 a sheet. I can avoid it for at least 2 or 3 more months before I have to bite a bullet, and I'm going to wait as long as I can. 2x6s, though, dimensional lumber, which is actually what this futures price actually references, they're down to 10 bucks a piece, which is down from 15. That's pretty awesome. Granted, that's still quite a bit more than we were paying a year ago. But that change is good. That's at least a indicator. But insulation is up in a minimum. I got a guy who pre-bought a bunch of product, and he's still having to charge $1.85, and I'm not even sure he's making money at that. So that's up, 15%. And most guys, if they've managed to procure product, may have paid more than that, and they may be up over $2. But I'm going to give you my guy's price because that's what I just paid the other day for a house. The wall cost, so that 4x8 is now at $188.50, which is only $1 more than the March price and almost $20 less, more than $20 less than the May price for that wall. So it's coming down. But it's still very similar to ICF and not remotely similar in quality. So, if this was back down to $100, you could absolutely make the case that, hey, I'm not going to live there long enough to amortize out the value added in ICF, whatever. I always think you can because of the savings in utilities and insurance and stuff. But right now, so you're at $188. To be fair to ICF, let me grab my little fun blocks here. So we got ICF blocks. And the last video was at $425 per square foot, and that was a guess. I think with realities of the demand, because I'm not the only one doing this math, guys. I mean, we have tons of builders that have switched to just do their crawl space walls with ICF because their carpenters can do it instead of a wall guy that's 4 months out and charging a mint for walls. I mean, more power to the wall guys. It's a hard job, but they are getting paid right now. And all of a sudden their carpenters can do these, and it's well worth their time. And then you have an insulated crawl space, whatever. It's a better crawl, yada, yada. And we have a lot of people doing that. A lot of people just go, hey, I'm building a house. We saw this guy's videos. This makes sense to us. And school buildings, all kinds of different things are going ICF. The demand is so high, they're really straining the production capacity right now. So our lead times went from 1 week to 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks on some of these products. And the price is up a little bit. They're trying their best to keep it low because, again, I'm not the only one that thinks that at least half of the houses in the country ought to be ICF. I think the ICF companies would like to see that too, but they're not maybe ready to make that many blocks. So I'm going to factor in, I'm going to go up from $425, I think in reality after freight, because like Fox blocks, we used to buy them right out of Nixon. They still make them there, but they're so demanded out of that plant. I'm having to still get my stuff out of Omaha, the home office right now, which is fine, but the freight's a little bit more. So I'm going to factor in about $440 to $450 today, to be fair, because I think most of you, I know a lot of people have a hard time getting these locally. They're having to buy them through a lumberyard. Lumberyard may mark them up higher. So while they could be gettable at a lower price, I'm going to factor in like $450 today. So that 4x8 piece of ICF that we're going to compare to that $188 for a wood frame, today it was $200 even in May. We're going to go to $212 right now. Concrete has been completely stable. You guys may get hit with a fuel charge. It's only fair. Those trucks get like 5 miles to the gallon, and diesel is ridiculous. My plant is still basically exactly stable. They pre-bought all their Portland for the year before the beginning of the year, so they have not gotten hit with anything gross. But the lead times are 4 to 8 weeks. So if you're really thinking about this, guys, you got to order early now, at least. And that's a Not a permanent thing, I've been told by the guys at Fox, and I mean, I'm hearing that from other guys. They're just really adjusting to a new demand. I mean, Fox Blocks is up 180% this year. And it's wonderful. It'd be wonderful to see that continue and see a lot of people in, down in the Southwest where it's really hot and up north where it's really cold getting these ICF walls, because it's just so much better for everything long term, in my opinion. But it's now back to being more than lumber. In May when I made the case that it's actually cheaper, it shouldn't be. It's a far superior, far more structurally sound, more durable for the long haul. A lot of people, random people that don't really understand environmental stuff but want a virtue signal and stuff, will talk about, oh, they quit making coffee cups out of that stuff because it was so bad for the landfills. Right, it's not going in a landfill. A single-use plastic is terrible. I hate them. I don't like water bottles. I don't like any of that stuff because single-use plastic is wasteful. This stuff is used and it'll be on that house for a couple hundred years, longer. I mean, that's the whole point. This stuff doesn't biodegrade. It provides an insulation. It's providing a function that otherwise would be formaldehyde and fiberglass or gross, resinous foams that are all worse for you and the environment than this, which is completely inert. And then Portland. You say Portland is so bad when they make it, it's really hard on the environment because of those big ovens and the amount of energy that it takes to make it. But once it's made, it lasts forever. Lumber, it's a pretty green industry, actually. The way that they manage timber and everything else, it's not like people are like, oh, they're cutting down all these trees, but they plant more trees than they cut down and they manage it. It's their business. But lumber only lasts so long. I mean, I've been to China and seen 1,000-year-old wood buildings. It's amazing, but they're also timbers that are, the size of VW cars. I mean, these 2x4s don't last forever, guys. So there's value added if you actually factor in over the long haul. This is a much greener system. Anyway, that's just an aside because I do like reading a lot of your comments, but I don't think you guys 100% understand the point I'm making at times when you got to figure the life of a wood structure is 50 to 100 years. This is off the charts. I mean, it just go. I mean, you've got Roman structures that use concrete that's 2,000 years old, and it wasn't nearly the quality of concrete we use today with the science that goes into concrete. And I'm going to actually do a tour of my favorite concrete plant just to kind of show you how technologically advanced concrete production is today. But anyway, really, so right now the market is, it's going down on lumber. I think ICF is done going up, and I think the lead times are done getting bad. I've been told that by the beginning of the year we'll be back down to normal lead times. We've bought as many of our swimming pools and projects as we can right now. And just kind of give you some ideas on what's coming on this channel. I've got a bunch more pool stuff. At least while it's hot outside, we got pools, for the rest of the year. Then I'll be showing you. Our Eco Finish guys are scheduling us for the end of the first week of August. So just like a week out, where the trainers are coming. We're going to do 3 pools that are ready and waiting semi-patiently for the Eco Finish. And that product is really going to just open up the world of ICF pools. And they're very competitive with gunite for a million reasons. And they're better from an insulative value, from heating. They're just so much easier to heat. So we're going to be bringing you a lot more pool content. But also, one of the pools we're building is at a house that I built a couple years ago, and he's got a very cool Aston Martin, and we are building a detached garage basically because he only had a 3-car garage on the house, and he's got a side-by-side and the wife's car, so he's kind of getting crowded. We're going to build him a super cool all ICF 2-car detached garage with a light deck roof. It is a bunker. We're going to heat it with hydronic heat. It's going to be very amenity laden. It's going to have a lift. And I'm going to bring that whole build to you guys. We're just waiting on he has a double lot, and we have to get a property line erased real quick, which takes like 30 days. So that's coming. I'm building a 50 by 100, 16-foot tall wall ICF barn, effectively, which is going to be super cool. We're going to pour those 16-foot walls in one shot. And just like I said, a lot more. Man, it is thundering. I hope you guys can't hear that too much on the microphone. But, and in addition to those videos, we got 2 really cool home tour videos coming. One of them's all ICF and light deck. Like, it is a masterpiece. I didn't build it. I did build their pool, but the house was already under construction when I met them. But it is one of the most amazing ICF and light deck projects in the country. and I'm getting ready to bring that one to you. I'm also going to bring you one from that house with that garage. That's super cool. It's got a lot of ICF, but just ultra modern, really, really cool house. And I'm getting ready to bring you guys a video where we recreate the ASTM small and large missile test, which sounds really cool, but it's basically shooting 2x4s at walls to check impact ratings. They do it to windows, they do it to doors, they do it to wall systems. We're going to build our little OSB wall again. We're going to build an ICF wall and actually fill it up with concrete. And just for the Three Little Pigs theme, we'll probably do a straw bale wall, like these crazy people building houses out of straw bales. That's one I don't understand 100%. But we are going to shoot 2x4s through a cannon I'm building. And the government test is only like 40 miles an hour. I think we can do a little better. We can hillbilly that up a little bit and get the velocity up a little to have a little more fun. And we'll have that fun video just kind of comparing, because that's the funny thing is I've talked about cost and value and everything else of ICF, but I've never really brought you the thing that ICF shines at the most. It can take a direct shot from an F5 tornado and you may lose your roof or whatever, but those walls will remain and they will protect you. Their storm and disaster resistance is uncomparable to any other building system out there, other than just commercial concrete walls, which don't give you any of the insulated value. So anyway, that's what's coming in the very, very near future. But I just kind of wanted to bring you a quick snapshot today of the lumber. I mean, it's on its way down, guys, but at this point, the little bit of price difference, you go, that's $20, that's 10% different. That's just on your outside wall. You amortize out, or you spread out the cost of the rest of the house, which is basically equal ICF to stick frame. Maybe you're 2%, maybe less than 2% different right now, and that's not a difference. ICF is going to save you so much money so fast on utility savings, peace of mind. I mean, that's not really a dollar amount, but it matters. So it's thundering right now. They're talking about possible tornadoes and stuff tonight, and I don't have my ICF room built. I'm gonna be laying in a stick frame house, just wondering, if the tornado sirens are going to start going off. So that factors in too, guys. But ultimately, I mean, lumber's a great product. I'm not knocking it. I'm just pointing out that right now in this crazy market, in this crazy world, ICF is still the decision that I would make if I was building my own brand new house. Make your builder look into it. There's a lot of guys out there that have kind of made the switch already this year. Lots more will, and the faster you guys start asking for it, the faster everybody will realize how good it is. So I will catch you guys next time, probably next week. I think tomorrow is not going to be raining. I think we're going to get out there and finish that light deck, and I'm going to bring you that video real quick because it's such a cool product. And while everybody knows what ICF is, a lot of guys are missing the boat on light deck, because right now you can almost do a light deck floor for the same money as Advantech and iJoist. And at that point, they're not comparable. So that stuff will span 40 feet with no support walls under it and have no bounce. It'll be completely, rigid. So I'm going to bring you that next week. Stay tuned. But if any of those other videos sound cool, don't forget to click subscribe and ring that little bell so it'll notify you when I post a video. I usually try to hit them on Sunday mornings. My computer's mediocre, so I've been late a couple times on uploading, but we're getting that fixed next weekend. So I will see you guys next time.